Ewan McGregor is his psychologist, and he's a figment of his imagination, basically, because in actuality, he's trying to make him come to from the car accident. He's trying to get him to wake up, and he's trying to get him to open his eyes. But in this false reality, Ryan Gosling views him as his psychologist, and Ewan McGregor just mentions to him, if this is all a dream, if this is an illusion, you've encompassed the entire world in it. He's just like, look around you. You've created an entire world. How could this be fake? And in actuality, it was all basically a conception or a creation of his mind, his very essence of his memory. So
yes.
It's a very interesting metaphor, microcosms and macrocosms, and how we can create worlds within worlds, even within the context of this holographic matrix we live in currently.
Yeah.
Like I said in the nines, Ryan Reynolds is basically a god with amnesia, and he's masquerading as human, creating virtual reality games. It's astonishing that concept. It really is a possibility that we could look at in our own lives. You never know.
Well, exactly. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one thing I did want to just run by you and get your take on it, because again that scene that you had the excerpt from Lawnmower Man, the first film, basically what one can bring from that or extract from that is that he's basically, at the same time, as he's progressing incredibly, he's going, as you said before, from a dumbbell up to a Renaissance man, basically, a new type of human being, if you will. But it's also kind of a huge warning in the film, of course, that he's moving too fast. He's
yes. Pierce Bronson, our 007, stresses to him that this is just an amazing breakthrough in human consciousness, but it has to be tempered with wisdom.
Yes,
and it cannot be rushed, because if it is, only disaster and chaos can be a consequence.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we see in our research, at least what I see in my research, and the tragedy that was Rick Clay. If you don't take a step back and sort of try to just be human and just go out and have a laugh and not always obsess about these possible conspiracies, and just live your life. Otherwise, it can consume you. And because our brains are not even capable of absorbing everything that we are looking into, especially in the research that I do. Like, if my brain was the equivalent of memory or RAM in a computer, I would definitely need some upgrades right now, because I am overloaded to the absolute max. Like, I seriously have the most intense dreams ever. I'm physically and mentally exhausted most of the time, because once I go down one of these rabbit holes, 7 more tangents open up. It's literally Pandora's box. I follow one thread and 9 more threads open up. Every time I call Jake to sort of brainstorm what we're going to do in the next video, we try to diligently as possible make a time tree of what we're going to talk about here and what we're going to talk about there, and it never ever ends up the way that we talk about it. And in fact, it kind of frustrates me, but it's enormously fun at the same time. It's we'll start talking about concepts, and then we'll get on into different concept, and then it spirals out of control into 9 different things, and we're just like, we have to make a 10-minute video about these subjects, and it's almost impossible to stick to it, because you sort of have to go with what you're inspired about in the moment, in the now.
Well,
otherwise, you'll never get any work done, basically.
No, well, exactly. I think that's a very good point, because again, obviously one can take notes and write up, this is what I want to do, or have had ideas about that I can go back to. But again, we talked about this before, working with the muse, being inspiration. That's all about being in the moment and surfing that wave, if you will. And obviously, one needs to take a break, just as you mentioned, and relax for a little bit and step back and just enjoy being human and being on the planet.
Exactly. If you look at the amount of these movies that are coming out that are just saturated with symbolism, I know that I have a job to do for the rest of my life. It's just never going to end. It's only going to speed up. There's another film called Avatar that's coming up, directed by James Cameron, who I guess didn't he recently do something about the actual resurrection of Jesus, or the cave where they supposedly found him?
Jesus' tomb. Yes, he was I think executive producer on that. Yes. Okay,
so you have that, and then you have him directing Titanic, which is more Aquarian or Aquarius resonance. And this new movie Avatar that he's making, It's basically involves a man trying to make his way as a miner by combining with an alien during an interplanetary war in which aliens can manifest themselves by possessing human bodies. So thus the name avatars.
Right.
The ETs basically use human beings as avatars. So I mean, it's just how many films are going to be about ETs and the overtaking of the world and bioengineering and I've been looking.
This is sorry to interrupt you, but I think that this is only. We're just scratching the surface here. This is just opening up the subject matter, so to speak, in one way. Because again, I think that either this is incredible programming going on here, right? That this is they will do some kind of false alien invasion type scenario. They're going to introduce. Yeah, sorry.
What do you think about Project Bluebeam and the possibility? I mean, I've read things that they're able to basically project holographic images of the Virgin Mary or UFO crafts, and they can do this at will. I mean, so if remember that October 14th phenomenon I told you that's been just blowing up on YouTube, where they think there's going to be a mass sighting on October 14th, which I'll have my head to the skies. I'll certainly be looking for it. But the people in control of the media are obviously going to be able to use that as a means to do whatever they want. If the ETs don't come out and say anything and say, here we are, this is us, the people in the Illuminati Dragonhead organizations are going to come out and say anything that they want. You know what I mean? They could use it to corrupt religion. They could use it to instill fear and declare martial law on people. And it doesn't even require actual ET presence when we have things like Project Bluebeam, because they could beam a holographic image of whatever they need to suit their purpose. If they want to make the return of the Messiah, they could beam a holographic image of the Messiah sitting on some golden chariot. I mean, how would that look to people? They wouldn't have a doubt in their minds. It would be absolute vindication and validation of their faith. And in that respect, they would have, so much even more control over us than we already do. So we have to really prevent that from happening, and we have to question everything.
Yes.
We have to question what we're saying. People should question your research or my research. No one should say they have some kind of absolute, notion of what the absolute truth of it all is. But you also have to be very aware of your surroundings and very aware of what your intuition is telling you.
Yeah,
exactly. Because they could use seemingly positive events and turn it against us into something horrible and horrific.
Yeah, exactly. Well, whatever the outcome is. I mean, again, that's why it's so important to be, as you say, using your intuition and be centered in the moment and not be just carried away, as it were, with all these kind of external, processes that are going on, especially if there's some kind of advanced weaponry here, or even if we're talking about holographic projection, whatever it might be. I mean, the only, if we think about it, you said that people are going to be swept away by an event like this. Yes, I think most people are, but those who have heard about Project Bluebeam, for instance, are probably not going to be, because they're going to have that little piece in the back of their mind that, shit, wait a minute, didn't I hear something about this? And that's
precisely. I mean, how is my 78-year-old grandmother, who's been of the Christian faith since she was able to speak, and have had all the people in her life that she loved and respect told her that this is truth, and has no idea what the internet is or how to use a computer or anything else. If these people see something like that, they're just going to take it for face value. They're not going to know how to explore other possibilities of what it could be, and that's how manipulation and brainwashing is used to its fullest degree. It's basically attacking the people that have no retaliation, that have no capacity for learning any kind of alternative history. You know what I'm saying?
If they're in tune with their intuition, I think that they can also very much come up to the level of anyone and see through this. But as you say, if they've spent their entire lives being indoctrinated, if you will, by the same impulses that potentially are going to unleash a second wave of a second coming or what have you, then they probably will be swept away. But we'll see.
And like I mentioned, this sort of phenomenon of the passing of the comet or the passing of this 10th planet or X marks the spot sort of phenomenon, that's in so much of the media right now. They could also use something of that nature against us. And I was thinking about the quakes that we were talking about, how CERN or the test firing of CERN may have caused these quakes, or at least it coincided with them. But you have to question everything. So what if it's some kind of heavenly heavenly body that's passing, the Earth or nearby the Earth that caused all these earthquakes, and they intentionally fired up CERN on that date as to mask what really is happening. You see what I'm saying there?
Sure.
There could be so many explanations for everything. So I'm just stressing that you must question absolutely everything that you see in the media, and that you shouldn't be, focused on just your computer screen and the what you get from that, and the wisdom that it's sitting in front of your little digital box has to offer you, because that's also a very biased and sometimes corrupted form of media. So you have to really, like I said, use your intuition very much. Another interesting film that's coming out in 2009 I have on my list here is S. Darko. It's going to be a sequel to Donnie Darko.
Oh, really?
It's going to focus on Donnie's younger sister Samantha.
Is it the same director? What's the guy called?
Oh, no. Richard Kelly?
Yeah, no, wait a minute.
No, not Richard Kelly. I'm sorry. It's, oh my God, I'm having a blank.
Yeah, me too. The guy who did the one we were talking about earlier. Sorry, I'm having a blank here too. The sequel I don't believe is directed by the original director, whoever that may be. Okay.
And,
wait a minute.
basically,
yeah,
Samantha,
exactly. It is. Sorry to interrupt you there, but it is Richard Kelly. You were right.
Oh, okay. See, subconsciously I
there
knew something.
Okay,
right.
Nice. Yeah.
So it focuses around Donnie's sister Samantha, who becomes able to view the future after witnessing a meteorite crash. So again, you have this sort of object flying from space, and like the comet resonance, and the ability to see into the future, and the CERN event, being a means or baby step into the possibility of time travel. And actually, Richard Kelly is directing a film called The Box. That's going to be his latest offering. I actually checked that out before I did my research for what I was going to talk about on the show. Mm-hmm. An unhappily married couple receive a box from a mysterious stranger who tells them that pushing a button on the box will award them with a large sum of money, and simultaneously someone the couple does not know will die. So basically, every time they touch this box, or they push a button on the box, they get, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but someone that they do not know at random dies. So that's an interesting paradox, I think. I don't know.
Yes. I was just thinking a little bit about some of the work, going back to just briefly talking a little bit maybe about the series that you did with Jake Cutsey from The Blob, and one thing that comes to mind, obviously, when thinking about these things, is that it's incredible how the opportunities have changed, so to speak, in just a few years, because I'm guessing here, and I reckon that you did actually not meet up to do this series, but you did it online, correct?
Oh, yeah. So we would brainstorm it on Skype, and then I basically do all the video editing and create the actual artwork and everything that goes along with that aspect of it. And then I send him a rough draft copy, and he returns, 13 or 14 voiceovers that have to do with what I sent him. And then I basically polish it, add some more images that correspond more directly with what he's talking about, and then I do my voiceovers at the end. So
cool. It's
actually been an amazing time working with him. He's a really brilliant man, and he's a terrific guy, a big heart, and I think we'll definitely work on several projects in the future together. Like I said, I have a fourth installment with him that's going to be due out either Tuesday or Wednesday, and I'm calling that genetic hybridization, the Nines, and the amnesiac godhead, and those are things that we've already talked about quite a bit on the show so far.
Yes.
And the genetic hybridization has been coming up a lot in relation to, I guess, Dracula or Vlad and Vlad the Impaler. The third installment of the Blade series, Blade Trinity, is produced by Wesley Snipes' company Amun-Ra, which makes, all of a sudden you have Dracula being associated with ancient Egypt, which is, kind of strange. And when you have the reptilian aspect and the hybridization bloodline in effect. And they fly in helicopters to the Syrian desert in Iraq to actually dig up the resting tomb of Dracula to see if they can awaken him. And they want to make a hybrid race, basically, so all the vampires of the vampiric bloodline could walk in the daytime and sort of rule the earth and take over humanity. So there's, overtones and undertones of, bloodline domination and